Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, the military says sorry after one of its Facebook pages releases an unverified list of UP alumni allegedly recruited into the New People's Army. And from one red tagging issue to another, 4 top universities slam a military official for saying their institutions are recruitment havens for NPA rebels. Also, Senate President Tito Soto believes that the late vaccination rollout can be a blessing in disguise, and are senators convinced that the government's vaccination deals are corruption-free? Senator Panfilo Lacson joins us live. The Armed Forces apologizes to the University of the Philippines alumni who were included in a list of alleged New People's Army recruits. In a statement, the AFP said it is already conducting an internal investigation as to how the list got published, and personnel who are responsible will be held to account. Meantime, several top universities also slammed claims by a high-ranking military official that their schools serve as recruitment havens for communist rebels. Ateneo de Manila University, De La Salle University, Far Eastern University, and University of Santo Tomas issued a joint statement rejecting Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade's claims, which they say were cast without proof. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senator Panfilo Lacson. Senator Lacson, welcome to the source, and thank you for your time, sir.
Pinky, good morning. Magandang umaga sa mga nanonood sa atin.
Senator, unahin ko na po yung statement ni General Parlade, where he claims that there are 18 schools that are being used as recruitment havens for the CPP-NPA. As mentioned a while ago, 4 universities, that's De La Salle University, Ateneo de Manila, UST, and FEU, denouncing this, saying it came with no concrete evidence. Senator, was it fair for the general to have made such allegations in public with no concrete evidence as claimed by the universities?
First, Pinky, it is basic in military tactics. Yung the success or failure of the execution of a plan of action depends largely on the decision-making process. That said, yung decision naman must be based on true and accurate information, yung verified information. In this case, General Parlade, even when he presented to us during the 2-day red tagging hearings that we conducted in the Senate, presented that much information about universities, schools in Metro Manila and elsewhere na nagiging recruitment haven ng mga NPA, CPP, NPA. That said, again, yung draft namin do sa committee report is almost finished. Now I'm having second thoughts and I have to review it again and ask the military to validate further the presentations that they made in this regard.
Can you expound? Why are you having second thoughts?
Kasi nga, they based their decision in suspending or terminating yung UP-DND Accord,
Opo.
Signed way back on what appears now to be false information. They included personalities na sinabing either captured or killed in action by the military, yun pala na andyan buhay and hindi naman pala na-capture at all. So, yun. So, now, that's the reason why I said that I'm having second thoughts about the draft committee report. We will have to go back and ask the military, either by way of another committee hearing or just ask them to submit validated reports on the personalities which they claimed during the committee hearings that we conducted were killed and they were actually students of the universities mentioned by General Parlade.
You know, Senator, there's really 2 things that need to be addressed here. Is, of course, the universities being alleged to be havens for recruitment. And of course, what happened doon po dun sa Facebook page ng Armed Forces of the Philippines, to which they apologize. These are 2 things that are quite correlated, but also different topics that needs to be discussed. Yung po kasing sinasabi yung draft committee report, ano ho bang laman nun? That's why you're having second thoughts.
Ang main issue doon is yung red tagging. Totoo bang mayroong red tagging o wala? Totoo bang yung mga schools, universities mentioned during the hearings by the military, nagiging recruitment haven, no, so to speak, ng NPA, CPP, NPA. At yung iba doon, as they presented during the hearings, napatay during encounters in Quezon, in Batangas, and other areas in the country. So ngayon, ang gagawin namin to pursue it further, to make the military submit validated reports, meaning ilink na nila talaga kung yung mga personalities na sinasabi nila napatay, totoo bang ito yung mga estudyante na galing sa UP, UP, and other universities in Metro Manila.
With all due respect, Senator Lacson, but wasn't that supposed to be already tackled during the hearings? Kasi if the such allegations were made, are you saying that there was not enough proof to back this allegation?
Well, they presented based on testimonies and video presentations. Pinakita nila yon. But now, since these things came about, nagkaroon ng yung mga personalities that I mentioned to have been captured or killed during encounters, sina Alex Padilla, Rafael Aquino, and other personalities, I think 18 of them. So I think that's reason enough for the committee to take a second look at the presentations, at the testimonies that the military made during the, or at least the witnesses made during the two-day red tagging hearing.
So
I think that's enough reason to further verify. Kasi we relied on the testimonies, we relied on the presentations, video presentations, and now that it appears na merong mga information and merong decision that was made based on false information by the military to the DND. So I think that's good reason enough for us, for the committee or for the Senate to take a second look once again at the presentations and testimonies made during the hearings.
And would that be tantamount to possibly having another hearing on this, on the red tagging issue?
Maybe we'll just ask them to submit additional documentations or documents to really validate that those personalities that they said were killed in encounters, talagang mga estudyante yon at yun talaga yung mga identities. No, mga sinasabi nilang na-recruit sa PUP, sa UP, and other universities.
Okay, so I want to go back, Senator Lacson, to the first topic that I really wanted to discuss, yung sa universities. So nagsalita na po yung apat na universities. Meron po silang joint statement rather, obviously denouncing this. Sinasabi kasi it came with no concrete evidence. When statements like these are made in public, Senator Lacson, would it be just correct and right and prudent to back it up with allegations when such are made, including such universities? I mean, you have parents who have kids who are possibly studying in some of these universities, tapos natatag na haven sila for recruitment for NPAs.
That's exactly my point. The committee, of course, hindi naman ito rebutted properly by those who appeared during the hearings and testified, yung mga kabayan black. Wala namang enough rebuttal specifically on the personalities that the military said they encountered and killed and verified to have been members of the National New People's Army na nanggaling sa universities. We relied on the presentation and the testimonies of witnesses that they presented. Now, Pinky, on the other hand, it takes a lot of humility to apologize or in public for a mistake made. And I think Secretary Lorenzana and the entire military establishment should also be given credit for openly accepting the mistake that they made. Now, having said that, I think it is prudent now for Secretary Lorenzana to at least suspend the termination of the UP-ADND Accord and hold a dialogue as he already mentioned he would do. So I think in the meantime, mas maganda siguro i-suspend na muna yung termination ng UP-DND Accord and go back to the drawing board, hold the dialogue and trash out all the differences
Right.
between the UP, PUP, and the DND establishment.
But can you imagine, Senator Lacson, AFP Facebook page? I know, of course, they already apologized, ano po, but there was a Zoom presser, I believe it was Saturday, wherein 4 of those supposedly tagged as NPA recruits who have died, who have been killed or captured, actually showed up. You talked to, you mentioned some of them. Nandun po si Attorney Aquino, nandun po si dating PhilHealth President Alex Padilla, the entrepreneur Liza Dacanay, journalist Roel Landingan, and Liza Magtoto were there. Pinabulaanan nga po nila ito. It's just almost, how do you actually react? Well, of course, na you had committee hearings on red tagging, and then here is a Facebook page of the AFP saying, ito pong 5 na nagpakita nga dito sa Zoom presser ay NPA, na-capture o namatay, at nagpakita na obviously buhay, nagsasalita, at pinabulaanan po yung sinasabi na sila ay NPA.
Of course, yung 5 personalities na lumabas ngayon, based on the Facebook post ng military, hindi naman ito na-tackle ng committee hearings. Kasi kung na-tackle ito at na-identify sina Alex Padilla, Rafael Aquino, na kasama doon sa na-encuentro o na-capture o napatay, then iba yung tono ng committee report, ano? As we speak. So, yon, ang nasama doon, mga ibang personalities, mga young students, allegedly young students from the PUP, from the University of the Philippines, at yun yung based on their presentation and the testimonies of their witnesses, ng mga ex-NPA rebels, doon magre-rely yung committee in the absence of any rebuttal from the other side. But now that these things came up, lumalabas, meron pa lang ibang personalities na nasa record pa ng AFP na hindi naman pala totoong na-recruit ng NPA or na-encuentro, napatay, or na-captured. So, naiba yung complexion, ika nga, based on these recent developments. Without these new developments, we would have relied, or the committee would have relied on the testimonies and the presentations.
But with information like this, Senator, that has come out recently, ano po, I understand it was not part of the hearing on red tagging. I do remember, I think it was also in December, when you said you would consider criminalizing red tagging. And I do recall you saying you might not get the support. It might be a tall order, I think, were the words you used, ano po. Are you still considering criminalizing red tagging?
Well, that becomes now a serious consideration. Kasi just imagine, kung hindi lumabas ito at nasa record pala ng military, yung mga tao na sinasabing NPA, na hindi naman pala NPA, delikado yon, di ba? It could have been disastrous on the part of these people. And even the military, for that matter. Kasi people on the ground or the troops on the ground would rely on the decision being made in the headquarters based on intelligence information that they have gathered. And itong pangyayaring ito, it doesn't even, necessitate intelligence information gathering. A little intelligence and more prudence. Open sources naman ito, Pinky, kung talagang naging mga NPA itong sina Attorney Padilla, Attorney Aquino. So, I don't know. I really cannot find an explanation why the military would, insist or would post such an irresponsible information based on false information.
Sabi nga po ni Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, he described it as an unpardonable gaffe. Again, we repeat. Go ahead, Senator.
Yes. That said, Pinky, at the very least, the one responsible for submitting that kind of information and the one who made the announcement should be sanctioned. They should be made to explain, and they should really be sanctioned by the AFP leadership, if not the Department of Defense.
The Senate concludes its hearing on the government's vaccination program. When we return, we're going to ask Senator Ping Lacson if they found no signs of corruption in the government's deals with vaccine manufacturers. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. Watching The Source on CNN Philippines, our guest today, Senator Ping Lacson. Senator, 3 days of hearing, the Senate Committee on the whole. Are you satisfied so far with what happened, and have all your concerns been addressed?
Yes, most of the concerns have been addressed during the 3 hearings, especially on the 3rd hearing, or after we had this informal meeting with Secretary Galvez. Maraming na-resolve na issues. But then, one hanging issue is on the prices, on the pricing of particularly Sinovac. Ano? It was claimed by Secretary Duque when I asked him kung ano yung naging basis for the submission of 3,629.50.
And he said
50
Google.
centavos for 2 doses. Ano? Ang sinabi, ginugel. In the absence of any other information na tungkol sa presyo. But it's bad enough na sa Google nag-rely, hindi na validate. But I remember that the Indonesian biotech firm that's also manufacturing some vaccines. October 14 pa lumabas yung presyong 683 pesos ng Sinovac. So November yung submission sa Committee on Finance. Kung nag-verify sila there's more effort in verifying the prices. October 14 kasi yung sa Indonesia na 683 pesos. Sana nakuha nila na masyado malaki yung difference ng 3,600 do 683.
Acceptable ho ba sa inyo when the Secretary said they got it from Google?
No, kasi ang Google, open-ended lagi yan eh. Hindi naman masamang mag-Google kasi we can derive a lot of information in the net. Pero dapat bine-verify natin, binabalidate natin before we submit it as an official document, an official submission.
Okay.
Doon siguro merong pagkakamali. But having said that, Pinky, wala naman kaming duda kay Secretary Galvez. But whether intended, deliberate or unintended, may lumalabas parang merong attempt to really overprice. Some people maybe behind the scene, I'm not hindi naman natin sigurado kung meron talagang ganung mga tao. But yung the mere fact that yung Thailand, of course this was explained by Secretary Galvez, na meron silang filling station, meaning meron silang tie-up with Sinovac. So, bumaba yung presyo. But yung Indonesia na 683, at yung sinasabi na lang indicative price na between 650 and 700, now in the Philippines, masyadong malaki yun, sa 3,600. Now, we still would like to find out, kasi hindi acceptable yung basta ginugel at sinabit. Could there be some personalities working behind the scene that supplied the information on the price of the Sinovac vaccine? Kung meron, medyo suspicious yon because para iangat mo yung presyo, and then Secretary Dominguez also came up with an average price of 1,200 per dose ng vaccine, which is much lower than the 3,600. Of course, that's an average price. And all this information will be collated and consolidated before Senate President Soto will come up with his committee of the whole report to be presented before us in plenary.
Yeah, just a thought, Senator Lacson, is that the reason there was a controversy about Sinovac is because of the price and the efficacy. I'm just going to stick to the price right now because we have to move on to other subjects. Yung pong price, 650 pesos to 700 pesos ang sinasabi po ni Sec Galvez and Secretary Roque. I know that you met with Secretary Galvez together with SP Soto and 2 other senators. Can you tell us, yung presyo ho ba na nirelay sa inyo is between 650 to 700 pesos?
That is correct. That's more accurate than the 2,600 or 3,600 and the $5 or 240 pesos do sa Thailand. And he explained that satisfactorily. Kasi nga, nag-tie up yung Sinovac with Thailand, bumaba yung presyo nila. Doon na pinoprocess o pinapackage doon sa Thailand mismo. Had we done that sa Pilipinas, mas mababa kaysa sa 650.
But just to follow up on that, sir, matagal na ho kasi yung presyo ng Sinovac na kine-question, not just by the senators but also by the netizens. I guess a point I wanted to raise, Senator Ping, is that if this was already being questioned and the amount that had come out from the DOH to the office of Senator Sani Angara rather, is 3,600 plus, why was this not clarified? Hindi ho ba? Kasi it was all over yung presyo ng 3,600. Bakit ho kaya hindi na sinabi earlier na we need to clarify that it's really not 3,600, it's lower than that?
That actually started the controversy. That aroused the suspicion among many senators na at the time when Secretary Galvez was testifying on the pricing, which he did not want to divulge, almost simultaneously, Secretary Roque was holding a press conference in Malacanang saying that don't be choosy. You take Sinovac or you don't get inoculated. And hindi pa nga tapos yung controversy ng presyo, parang as if they wanted, or at least Secretary Roque, when he announced it, they wanted to give Sinovac 5-month headway, diba? A 5-month lead over the other brands of vaccines.
Okay. Senator, yung pong sinabi ni Senate President Tito Soto that this delayed vaccination rollout could actually be a blessing in disguise. He says, as it turns out, this may show how God truly loves the Philippines, because while we may have been delayed, it may have been a blessing in disguise. Do you agree, sir?
Well, he had a point there. Pero a shot in the arm is a shot in the economy. Kasi pagka late tayo ma-inoculate, late tayo makaka-recover. Kasi wala yung herd community na tinatawag, because according to Dr. Fauci, kailangan para maka-achieve ka ng herd community, nasa mga 75 to 80% ang ma-inoculate. So pag nahuli naman tayo, yung economy natin na magsasuffer. Tama rin si Senate President na sige, bayan natin maging guinea pigs na muna yung mga ibang bansa at pabor din sa atin, which is also correct. Ano? Pero yun nga, you win some, you lose some. Ang masakit doon, mas malaki yung mawala sa atin kung may mga projection na nga na yung the Philippines, our country, will be the last to recover. No?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's
economically, that is.
Exactly, sir. Yung economic issues really need to be addressed, because that's kumbaga, kambal yun po nung sakit habang nitong virus na to. Just very briefly, sir, do you think that one of the themes or the vision or the focus of that hearing was to boost the public's confidence in the vaccination program that government will roll out? Do you think that was achieved?
Well, a lot of information was shared with the public, and I think somehow medyo na-enlighten yung publiko on the importance or significance of getting inoculated and all the other side issues involved, like yung logistical requirements and yung efficacy, and then of course the pricing. Marami namang na ungkat doon sa tatlong hearings na sinagawa ni Senate President Soto.
Okay.
So that alone, I think, and the public was informed of the prices, no? Medyo namulat din. And I think, kung meron man talaga, assuming that there was an attempt at overpricing, siguro may na-achieve din yung Senado para ma-preempt if ever there was an attempt at overpricing.
Unfortunately, Senator Ping, we've run out of time, but if you have maybe a couple of minutes after we end the show, we can go live on Facebook, sir, because I wanted to ask you about the vendor, yung pong si Warren Villanueva. I know you had a series of tweets about this. I know that you sent your team or your staff to see si Warren po, and I want to get an update on that. But we have to say goodbye on television.
And they were able to talk to him yesterday.
Very good, sir. We'll talk about that on our Facebook Live page. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. Senator Ping Lacson, thank you. Also, I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.